On. Hi guys, welcome back to the Off the Script podcast. We're back with another returning guest, Matt Tofton. Welcome back on, back by popular demand. You guys loved the last one. I'm sure you'll enjoy this one too. Matt, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. How are you doing, Joe?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad, thank you.
How's lockdown treating you both?
Could be worse. Could be a lot better, but could be worse.
Where are you still at? You still at uni halls, or you?
Yeah. I'm still in Brum. Still got a couple more assignments to hand in, and then work obviously to do. So, we just keep going along. I'm lucky that like my job is still running, so I'm still actually quite busy.
No, it's not too bad then, I guess.
Yeah. At least I'm getting some money.
What's been happening your end, Matt?
Not a lot. Obviously, the gym's closed.
Yeah.
And we don't know when they're going to open.
Right.
But we've got very loyal members, so a good chunk have carried on with their memberships.
Wow.
Which obviously really helps us out. In terms of online stuff, that's not too bad. It's a bit quieter than normal, but it's still pretty busy. I kept all my clients running through, and then I've still taken on more during, so that's not too bad. But it's just frustrating, obviously, with the gym. More about the actual uncertainty of any dates. If we knew a date to aim for, it'd be a little bit better.
Yeah.
But it's just guesswork at the minute, and
yeah, I think that's interesting. How for you still obviously, but from the sounds of it, have kept a large amount of your client online as well. I think that's interesting. I think that's put into perspective for a lot of people how important it is nowadays to be in touch with like your online business. Because I see all this stuff now with like PTs who businesses have just crashed because they've got nowhere to PT out of and stuff like that. So
yeah, like I do feel for the guys that were just sort of renting space, because they've obviously we've been given a grant with the gym because we have premises. But if you're a PT, you literally lost all potential income, but also got nothing back because you don't own any premises, you just rent space. Which I do feel sorry for those guys that, and a lot of people say they should have been prepared for the time. But if you're a personal trainer and you're doing 40, 50, 60 hours on a gym floor, and you have been for God knows how many years, you're probably not into the online side of things. If you like to be hands-on, that's their prerogative, and that's taken away from them. And I think trying to scramble and do bits, it's difficult. It's a very obviously weird situation. I mean, not just our industry, with everything. But it's just obviously it appears like the fitness industry or the gyms are going to be the last thing to come back. Obviously, there seems to be this preconceived idea that gyms are a hotbed and a breeding ground for germs, and I think I don't think it's true. Like, the virus isn't spread through sweat or anything. If it was, then maybe you could sort of quantify them claims, but I think obviously those sort of misconceptions that everyone gets to at gyms, there's loads of contact, I think that'll really push things back. And I do think I think it'll actually hurt the bigger gyms more. A lot of them rely on mass members, like they need their big client base and their footfall. They need the people that they need the members that turn up to keep them going. And this will probably have been a big reminder to people that don't go but pay. Oh, actually, I'm paying 50 quid a month when I shouldn't, and they'll never get that back. And obviously, I don't know what regulations are going to come in with regarding to opening, but can't imagine you're going to be just allowed to run at full capacity, especially if you've got thousands of members. They're not just going to let them all in.
100%.
So you're going to have a larger gym, which is going to, obviously people get furloughed at the minute, but they'll have to bring all their staff back because they'll be needed. But they're probably not going to get all their members back. So I think there'll be a lot of bigger gyms that are actually worse off when they first open, as worse than they have been during lockdown because everyone's getting furloughed. And they require, if they've normally got sort of 500-600 people in a building at any one time, they're probably not going to be allowed to do that. Whereas like my gyms, like if there's 30 people in there at any one time, it's busy. So not the space is busy because it's still a large area, but in terms of like, we just don't have a massive membership base where there's hundreds of people in there at the time. So like, I think smaller independent gyms with lower overheads, hopefully, I think they may get up and running a little bit easier. But like I say, we don't know. Pubs will be open before gyms.
Yeah, what's your 2 cents on that? Because honestly, I think it's insane that in a crisis that revolves around health, people are going to be denied the access to something that could potentially improve their health and have a positive impact on their lives. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, like I say, I think that people will probably say that you're not huffing and puffing and panting in a pub. Like, you got a lot of guys that are heavily breathing in the gym, and people think if that's the way that it's spread. You can also argue that you can still socially distance in a pub. Whereas, I mean, you could say you can in a gym, and you can, but people train together, and when you're spotting someone, or things would have to be different. So it's a strange one. I mean, I think in terms of the health, I don't think we can say, because we can still exercise. People will say, well, you don't need a gym to exercise. If it's really that important to your health, go for a jog, because that's just how people think.
It's true, yeah.
And from my experience of this, in terms of mental health sides, I don't actually think it's the training that helps us. I honestly think it's that social and human interaction.
I agree.
I think that's people are saying, "Oh, I need to go train because I obviously I let off some steam. I do this," but I actually I believe that's what they do think. But obviously, still having access to a gym this whole time, but having to train alone in a gym, I can tell you that it's not the same. Like, if you go in the gym in a bad mood when you train on your own and there's no one else in there, you'll stay in a bad mood and you will leave in a bad mood. Yeah. All the hard training in the world won't let you get outside of your own head. Yeah. If you went in there with a training partner, when you're not in your set, you're in their set. There's the focus that you can totally switch off from anything that's happening in the outside world. I think it's that. I don't mean that you go in there for a chat, but just that human interaction. I actually think that's the bit that's the big difference, as opposed to the actual exercise or the training. For us, the gym is the pub for someone else, just like it's a restaurant for someone else. It's just how we sort of socialise and interact with people. And it's just weird that that's been taken away.
Yeah. I think part of what it comes down to for most of us is that we want gyms to be open, and we might be arguing that it makes sense to do it, but on the other hand, we just want to get back in the gym. We just want to our training.
From a totally selfish point of view, I want to go train.
Yeah.
And I also want my business up and running. But I can look at it from both sides. I can understand why things were done initially. Yeah. But I do think that there's arguments that there's not really been any logic used.
I agree.
Or at some point they're going to have to justify why they're still keeping gyms shut, but all closed shops are open, or this and that. We'll see. Obviously, 4th of July is when Phase 3 is going to happen, but it depends how they're planning that.
Yeah.
4th of July sounds quite appealing right now, but if we get a week out from that and they say, right, Phase 3 starting on the 4th, it's going to be this, and this, but it's still not going to be October until gyms open, it's just going to kill everyone again. Like, it's that uncertainty, because I've seen gyms announcing that they're planning on opening on the 4th, and I just honestly do not see it happening.
See it, yeah.
I mean, phase 2 only had shops in it, but most shops are still having to wait until halfway through the phase to open. So I think we'll do exactly the same with, we've got to get hotels, pubs, restaurants, cinemas, theatres, gyms. They're not just going to say, crack on.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, 100%. I think another thing that's going to be interesting, I've seen all these expos and stuff and shows and stuff that are rescheduled towards the end of the year. And I'm looking at these, I'm like, are they really going to let a giant public event like that go ahead, even if everything else is open by October? So.
I mean, if things sort of happen in the reverse order that they happened over the world, you sort of think that events may be limited to like up to 500 people. So there's a way that the shows could possibly go ahead. I mean, if they do go ahead towards the end of the year, they're going to be, if all the planned shows are just postponed and put on, then you're probably not going to have big crowds anyway, because I imagine they're going to have one on a Saturday, one on a Sunday. Like, if they all end up going ahead, you're probably going to have every single federation's big final.
Yeah.
With a very short space of time.
Yeah. You'll have loads of big shows back to back, won't you? Running up to, when,
to be honest,
the Olympia, December something?
13th to 16th or something, yeah.
What are your plans with that? Because I know obviously you were planning on going this year, but what are you?
The prices are really good.
Yeah.
I had a look into the prices, and it's 700 quid, like for the week per person, like. But that's also because it's December and it's sort of 15 degrees as opposed to 40 degrees, and I don't think Vegas is popular. So I think, but that's at the minute with uncertainty about flights. If things change and all the flights are allowed to go ahead, I imagine there's going to be a massive spike in prices. So it's either do you take the risk, book it now to get it cheap.
Yeah.
But then you don't know, other things might, I know obviously the shows are going ahead in America, the qualifiers.
Yeah.
But at the moment there's no flights in there. So are you only going to have American bodybuilders?
Yeah.
Even able to qualify? Whether by the time the Olympia comes around, everyone can travel.
Yeah.
They might do invites, or like all the shows are sort of keep getting pushed back. Like gyms are opening in America and things now, but obviously over here it's still very uncertain, and a lot of guys might not want to travel to it, or might just write the year off because of what's gone on. Probably, I'm sure a lot of pros have had access to gyms.
I think so, yeah.
Probably shouldn't have. But so their plans probably haven't changed, but a lot of them might have taken like the foot off the gas, and just decided, I don't think there's going to be, even though we've still got a long time to go.
Yeah.
Like we know that big preps start a year in advance, like everything's sort of calculated up to that. So a lot of them might have just decided that I'll just leave it and just wait till.
Yeah.
And the guys obviously they're plan on doing the Arnold. December to March is not a massive time, so they might skip the Olympia and focus on the Arnold as opposed to where they would have normally done both. They're not really going to break, but it's still too far apart to stay in shape for.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, especially now, like obviously it feels like we're blowing like an old trumpet way too many times now, but like I feel like it just doesn't make sense to be in a compromised state with everything that's going on, like prolonged periods of time. It doesn't make sense to be really body fat and put yourself at potentially more risk, in my head at least.
Yeah, I mean, that depends on your viewpoint about how serious, obviously, you take the virus in terms of whatever. I guess it comes down to are you particularly scared of the virus or things like that. I think a lot of guys probably won't focus on that more. Their worry is like how many people can't get in the gym right now. They've had. Do they think, am I going to be my best at the end of this year? I've had 4 months out of the gym, training in my back garden. He's not going to put you in a good position. To potentially win a show at the back end of the year. So I think most people. I'm planning on. I started lockdown not competing. Yeah. And I changed my mind halfway through because I was just fed up and I needed something to concentrate on. Yeah. But I have access to a gym. So I'm in a different situation. There's no reason why my progress had to stop. Yeah. Obviously not a lot of people can sort of think like that. So I'm planning on trying to just get ready for October time. Right. Thinking something. I believe the two bros one will probably go ahead. The Amateur Olympia. Yeah. Even if they just have to do it with no crowd. I think
stuff where people are going to live stream events and stuff when they're on and barely have an audience.
Yeah, it won't work. I think PCA said that their first show will be 10 or 12 weeks from when gyms open, which I think would be a sensible choice. Like it can be,
makes sense.
Everybody will know where they stand. And I don't know about the other feds. They're all sort of think towards the back ends of the year. I guess if it goes ahead, it'll be a fun few months for bodybuilding.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be such a. I think in general, it's just going to be a massive rebound for society. I think everyone's going to just take as much as they can get out of everything, and really try and almost have like make up for lost time. Like I can feel myself already that I've almost got like a vendetta now, where I just as soon as I'm back in that gym, I'm just full ahead. And just like I can still train now, and I'm able to train. I've still got some kit, but
it's not the same.
Yeah, it's just not the same, man. It's not the same at all.
And I don't even know whether I would. I'd like to think that I would have trained at home. Yeah, but I honestly can't say that I would have been able to stay motivated. Like I've seen some people that are doing some crazy stuff in the garden, and I honestly don't know. Like. Truthfully speaking, whether I would have been able to do that. Yeah. The diet probably would have always just stayed the same, but I think after those first sort of 2 or 3 weeks of just like going and doing some press ups or something, like I would have probably just knocked on the head. Obviously, thankfully, I can train in the gym, but I've seen a lot of guys that. Like their motivation or their discipline just to keep going in the garden or just doing this at home is amazing. Like fair play.
Yeah, one of our mates, Robbie, who was on one of our other episodes, some of the stuff he's come up with at the moment to train is unbelievable. Like he'll take like a 15 kg plate and then daisy chain it to a handle so we could do like standing curls with a daisy chained like plate, stuff like that. It's just some of the stuff he's come up with. That being said, he is of the opinion at the moment that like as much as he's doing right now, and no matter how creative he gets with his training, he just feels like he's having shit sessions. He's still.
I think that's just about it. Just the mentality of just being in your own house. Yeah. Like. You don't actually have the opportunity to get out. Yeah. I think it's the same as sort of, like I could never imagine that I see all these people having these home gyms and things. or even if doing cardio at home, like, and you're sort of I think there's something about getting ready for the gym, like that process of like just going through the mental rehearsal of, right, it's gym time in X amount of do this pre-workout, get this, and then you actually leave. And I think you could just talk yourself out like, oh, well, I'm at home, so it's easier to do it.
Yeah.
But because you don't ever get through, and it's so easy to say, oh, this is crap, like, I'm just stopping.
Yeah.
Same as if you're just doing cardio on the treadmill, like at home. If you're having a bad day, it's so easy to press stop.
Yeah.
Or if you go out and do it, you end up getting through it. So I think there's no reason why people shouldn't be able to maintain a physique, no matter, even just with bands or things like that. You'll probably get a little bit flatter and a touch softer, maybe. I don't see the reason that anyone needs to lose any muscle or not maintain, but you're not gonna be building any muscle unless you're a beginner that's decided just to start lifting weights at home. If you really have a lot, but it is cool seeing all the like people building gyms. I've got clients that have got trestles set up, and like the gyms are a death trap. But it's pretty impressive seeing people rig pulley systems up and doing all sorts. Like, amazing that like what's happened and how people have adapted to the situation. But nothing can replicate training in a gym.
Yeah, honestly, I think that day one where the gym opens, I'm debating what my plan is going to be. Obviously, I'd love to say day one gym opens, I'm going to go in, train legs, just absolutely annihilate myself and go home a happy camper. But I don't know if it's really going to even be like that, because I just feel like there's going to be such a ridiculous amount of people going in, because you're going to have it's going to be like at New Year's when you have all the New Year's resolutioners going into the gym, and then you've got all the other people who actually have been going to the gym for however long who are coming back as well, and they're in the same position as all the like beginners, you know what I mean? So I feel like it's just going to be madness going into the gym on day one and trying to,
and that's if they're allowed to open at full capacity.
I know, yeah.
Imagine if you have to do a booking system and someone that's never used the gym in 6 months gets in before you.
Oh, fuming.
People will be killing sprees in gyms.
Yeah.
Plus, no one's killing a first workout when they go back, no matter what they think.
I know, yeah.
After being away from a proper hack squat or something like that for 4 months, you're going to go in there and halfway through the session, you'll want to leave, and you're going to hurt.
Yeah.
A long time.
I fully expect that I'll probably like load up the leg press and just go through the motions, and I'm just going to end up vomiting straight away.
People are, oh God, this is saying that weight. Everyone says that weight's heavier at home. Obviously, I haven't done anything, but well, I think either you're going to have a lot of people that have got all their PBs in their head going back, and they're not going to get anywhere near them, and it's probably going to eat them up. Yeah. Like, oh, that's it. Like, oh. Yeah. So we'll see. How it goes.
I've got supposedly around 190 kg a load on a barbell, and in reality, as soon as I go into Ultimate Fitness, my actual home gym, and put that on the bar, I'm just gonna lose 4 reps at least. It's gonna be awful.
Yeah, I think, like I say, I think the gyms will be. Let's hope they are. Let's hope they are busy. It depends how, obviously, people want to approach it. Saying that, a lot of people might still be scared to go back, or I don't know everyone's viewpoint. I know a lot of people are desperate to get back in there. There might be. I mean, I think our types of gyms that we train at, everyone wants to get back.
Yeah.
Your bigger gyms, like I said, why I think commercial gyms are going to take the hit. Those, I think, is someone that goes there for an hour to walk on a treadmill. They're probably the type of person that's still sort of they're not letting their kids go back to school on the 1st of June when they've been told to because they think it's not safe.
Yeah.
So even if the gym's open, there'll probably still be a large percentage of people that say, well, I don't think it's safe, so still won't go back. Not in our type of gyms, but people that, if they open today, they would be rammed.
Yeah.
Everyone will train legs on the first day back, though, because everyone will want to think they're right. But just go and train arms, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just start in reverse order of what is cool to do.
That might be the move, actually. I know that, to be honest, I feel like with me personally, my lower body has always been a bit more dominant, so I feel like I could probably get away with start with like arms, whatever first.
Yeah, just train arms for a week.
Yeah.
Forearms and rear delts. There you go.
Yeah, we're gonna be coming back week 2 of training. Look at Popeye. That's the plan.
It's going to be a sore week, though.
It's going to be a sore week. I'm going to book
no one will go back today too. So that's the best time. Start on the second day because no one will go back.
Yeah. I'll just make sure I can get work off for a while, just so I could just write myself off, and then I could just not do anything for a day or two and just let myself actually recover, get past the sitting up and standing down,
Just call it sick.
Yeah, I will do. I threw up yesterday. Where did you throw up? Yeah, in a bin in the gym. That's why I can't come in.
Yeah.
Right, so do we want to get on to a topic?
Let's get into the topic.
Yeah.
Links are nice as well. So we're going to be talking about training intensity and variations in training techniques, volume, training style, stuff like that.
Just move because I'm being blinded by the sun.
All right.
Look at this unit.
Oh, yes. The guys on the audio, you're missing out on seeing a rather large man. To put it nicely. So when it comes to, we'll start off with volume. What is your idea and your definition of training volume? Because obviously it varies between person to person, and the actual definition to you of accurate volume when it comes to training.
Firstly, I think volume is something that gets lost in sort of definition and how you define what a working set is. I think this is where a lot of people get confused. You have a lot of guys that say, "Oh, well, I'm a low volume trainer," and they say, "I do 6 sets of workout," but that's 6 sets that they class their working sets, which are the ones they fail. Now, if you say, if they're going to do 3 or 4 warm-up sets to that, so let's say that they say, well, they do 4 exercises, and let's say DC training, that's supposed to be very low volume.
Yeah.
So there might be 5 exercises in the session, and their last sets they fail on. So they say, well, I do 5 work sets, so I'm really low volume because I only do 5 working sets. But if those 5 exercises all have 4 feeder sets, that's now 25 sets. And there's a lot of guys that say they're high volume, but they'll count all of their sets for the sessions, even their warm-up sets. So they say, oh, well, I did 30 sets today.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people can get confused between high volume versus low volume just in the way that people describe what they actually class as a set. Even you look at Dorian, people think Dorian was very low volume, but if you go through I know he released his training log recently.
Yeah.
If you actually count the sets up, there's actually quite a few there. If you said, you'd say, well, he was high volume. But for me, I think training volume should be defined sort of effective reps, as opposed to either how many sets you do or whatever. And I read a study a while ago, studies, they're all bullshit, I know. But I like the idea of it, that they pretty much said that your effective reps during a set were the ones like from like 5 from failure. Like, so from, if you do need 10 rep max, the last 5 reps were effective. And I like that idea of sort of quantifying a training session through effective reps. Again, it means that sort of a 5 rep max, every single rep was probably effective. So therefore, I think that's the argument for me, that you don't want to really be doing triples. What's the point in doing a set of 3 where you're lifting a load of heavy weight, but you're not maximizing, or you're not taking away effective reps because you're going to miss out on something.
Yeah.
I think that's, so I always try and train sort of between like 6 and 12 reps, and just try and take away as many effective reps as possible during a session.
Yeah.
So like I say, it comes down to definitions, but rather than looking at, because you could do a shit ton of volume and actually, and none of it could be worth shit, like, because not one rep did anything to build any muscle. And then you can go really low volume, but miss out on a lot of stuff. So like my current training, I'm doing three work sets for an exercise, and my 3 work sets are, the first set I aim for pretty much a 12 rep max, and I will take that to its limit. So I will take it to what I call the last good rep.
Yeah.
So say, when you're squatting on your own and you're saying, I'm taking this set to failure, and you're alone in a squat rack, you don't attempt the rep that you know isn't coming up. So I think that's your last good rep. Like, you got up with the rep, you wasn't helped, and you could probably go down and come 3/4 of the way back up, but you'd fail. So I take it to what I call, it's not reps in reserve, because if there isn't another rep, you would need a spot.
Mechanical failure.
Yeah, pretty much sort of like positive failure, or say if you're doing a deadlift, if you know that rep would come up, but it's going to take like 10 seconds and it's going to be a grinder.
Yeah.
Just leave. And then increase the weight by about 5%, and then go again. So again, the same, like, last good rep. And then again, increase the weight by about 5%, but on that one, take it beyond failure if you can, if you've got a spotter.
Okay.
So, and when you get it about right, you sort of go from set 1 would be about 12 reps, set 2, 9 or 10, and then set 3, you're sort of looking at 6 to 7. But I think across, you get 3 work sets there, and I think you're going to get 15 effective reps.
Yeah.
And then sort of for chest, I'll do 4 exercises. So I take away from that session 60 effective reps, and that feels like it's enough. So I sort of try and quantify it like that, whether it is the last 5 or the last 4 or the last, well, whatever. I don't know. So this is just how I'm sort of operating and viewing it. And then I think once training, I think the first aim of training needs to be obviously build muscle. Like, that needs to be the thing that you're trying to do, like build muscle as best as possible to maximum ability. And I think you can do that through obviously taking it to failure, training hard, whether you go low volume, high volume, whatever. Like, that needs to be the first box that you tick.
Yeah.
And then I think after that, longevity of training needs to be looked at, and obviously safety, which is where I've recently, over the last couple of years, deviated in my training. I've tried to make it go from sessions that were still very effective in terms of building muscle, and I've tried to get it so I keep the same effectiveness while
disappear for a second.
Fucking hell. Okay.
whilst obviously minimizing the risk of injury.
Mm.
And that's where I've gone away from logbooks, chasing weight, staying at very low, like sets of like 5s and 6s. It's going to still be as effective in terms of building muscle. You can't deny it.
Yeah.
But handling a 5-rep max is not as safe as handling a 12-rep max. So the potential for injury is lower. If the potential for injury is lower and the chance of gaining the same amount of muscle is equal, then I would always favour the one that's safer in the moment, and also the one that I would imagine keeps you training either for, I haven't missed 10 chest sessions this year because every so often I'm popping fibers doing 5-rep maxes.
Yeah.
So, and then if you're missing, people talk about training frequency and they justify training once every 5 days over once every 7 days because you get an extra, I get an extra 6 chest sessions this year.
Yeah.
So if your training method means you lose 10 chest sessions because you're always injured, because you're either not doing things to make things safer and you're doing everything possible to lift heavier weights, then I think you're just running the risk of slowing down progress. And if you do that every year for 10 years, that's a lot of potential progress you're going to miss out on.
Yeah.
So I just like trying to be safer with training and try and tire the muscle out along the way. A lot of people mistake like fatigue for weakness.
Yeah.
And I've said it a lot, and I think it's weird that people do it. Like people are taking like 5, 6, 7 minutes rest between sets just to allow themselves to get, I want this PB. Like, muscle growth will occur whether just if you get back under a bar 30 seconds earlier, you're not going to get as many reps, like of the same weight, for example. But the training effect will be the same.
Yeah.
So why load a bar? Why take 10 minutes between sets to load a bar up? Let your legs fully recover just because you want to lift a certain weight. And that's why I went away from, I used to do sort of low rep warm-ups and feeder sets.
Yeah.
And I think all that does is allow you to lift heavier, which sounds great. But I think that then puts potential injury like even more. So why not? If you said, right, I'm going to do 10 reps, 10 reps, 10 reps, 10 reps, work set, your final work weight will not be the same as if you went 10 reps, 5 reps, 2 reps, single. But the muscle will be full of blood.
Yeah.
And you could build the same amount of muscle without having to handle more weight. So that's where my training has changed. In terms of how much volume you do, I think in terms of building muscle, as long as you're working hard and doing enough, the method itself doesn't matter. But over time, and this is something when I was in my early 20s and mid 20s, it was like, I don't give a fuck. Like I had guys telling me, you won't be able to train like that forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine, I will. I think with experience and a bit of age and just doing things over and over again, you learn that your body gets very beat up.
Yeah.
I spent years doing like the lower volume, the fortitude, and I was logging PBs every week. But I go down on a hack squat every week, and the first thought in my head was, I hope my knee doesn't explode. Like even the warm up, the pressure on my knees, and I knew that. Oh well, in my head, the logic of my training dictates that to build muscle, I need to lift heavier next week. And And people say, oh, if your logbook doesn't scare you, you're not training hard enough. But that's bollocks. There's a difference between going into a leg session knowing, fucking hell, this is going to be awful because I'm going to work hard and I'm going to be fucked and I'm probably going to throw up.
Yeah.
To, I'm terrified to do this weight because I think there's a chance I might blow my knees out. That's not the right training fear. Like scared of doing something because it's heavy and you know that you might rip something off the bone.
Yeah,
is different to knowing that this is going to be a grueler. Like I think if you booked yourself a training session with Milos Sarchev, like I don't know whether you've ever seen his giant sets or anything like that.
Yeah.
You would probably be shitty if you said, right, we're doing a Milos leg session, and he was taking you through it.
Yeah,
it will probably be the most terrifying experience of your life, knowing if you knew what to expect.
Yeah.
What at no point would you be going in there thinking, I might tear my quad off. But you know it's going to be the worst leg session you've ever had in your entire life.
Yeah.
Like the pain is going to be unbearable. The pump will be unbearable. You will be sick. Like you probably will fall over at some point.
Yeah.
That's the fear you should have before a leg session. Like people want to be hardcore, like having to wrap your knees up so tight because you know that, well, the last time I did this, I thought my quads were going to tear and I've put an extra 10 kilo on the bar.
Yeah.
I don't think people treat training now like a performance sport. And I just don't think bodybuilding is a performance sport.
That's probably, I don't think that could be a truer statement at the moment. I think we're in a now where every single person I know and people I'm around, they've almost gone into like a powerlifter mindset. It is very much about, okay, I want to lift as heavy as possible and get to a heavy weight as possible this off season with my lifts, and very specifically with the big three, with my squat like movement or my pressing movement or my deadlift movement. There is definitely a bigger focus nowadays on those big lifts, and I don't think that's necessarily wrong in terms of, you know, those big lifts are very important because they're there to build an enormous amount of muscle across multiple different areas. But I definitely agree that it has almost become like I won't say an ego thing, but leaning more towards the I want to lift this weight because, you know, it's like, you know, it looks cool. It's like an important thing to lift.
I don't think it's an ego thing. I think we've been, I don't want to say brainwashed, but led to believe that the only way to build muscle is from lifting more. So I don't think it's an ego thing, but I think they just say there's a total correlation between this to getting bigger.
Yeah.
Like I never hear it like nowadays bodybuilders, like you say, they'll say off-season goals, and it's all lifts. I never see anyone say, I want to put 2 inches on my arms. I want to put 1 inch on my quads. I want to bring my chest up to balance, offset this, or I want thicker lats. They'll say, I want to deadlift 300 kilo, because they think that's the goal to improve muscle.
I'm guilty of that as well. I know I am as well. I ever since for a period of time, from post show, definitely up until Christmas, I was just obsessed with chasing those numbers, because I was like, I've lost a lot of strength over the course of like this contest prep, and I wanted to get really, really strong. That was like something that was one of the things that was in my head. I'm like, I'm seeing all my friends who have been in their off seasons, like over the course of my prep. I'm like, oh, I want to catch up, you know.
I think that's because at the minute that's something cool to post, isn't it? Like, if I've used this as an example quite a lot, but if you ever seen Jay Cutler's training videos, his DVDs, take any set from any DVD, and put it on Instagram. No one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't get the same traction as someone like some kid who's probably 12 stone in a gym, who doesn't look like he trains really. He's an up and coming and he's on YouTube, and he does some like ridiculous shit bouncy hack squat.
Yeah.
It will create more, oh man, killing it, blah, 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 than a Jay Cutler set, where he just looks like, oh, well, he just did that.
Yeah.
And that was Jay's training forever. Nothing. His training is almost eventless. And I think that's what bodybuilding training should be. They shouldn't be like, now I see people and they look like they're on the platform about to deadlift for the world record. You know what I mean? And that's every session. They've got teams like 4 or 5 people around them, and they're about to do and it's like, it shouldn't be like that. This is bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Every single lift in your session should just be, you shouldn't be building up to it. In my opinion, every set is as important. They should all look the same. But people go into the gym already knowing what they have to do for that training session to be the best. And not one of those goals is build maximum amount of muscle. It's always, all right, I need to squat this or pull this or do this. I've got to press that. And I've got to do it all. I've got to hit PBs, otherwise I'm not going to build muscle.
Yeah.
And I just think the philosophy of bodybuilding training has gotten lost somewhere in this almost power building, what it's called, what people think is training hard. People think you have to be screaming and making a commotion, and it has to be, something has to look hard
for it to be hard.
Yeah. And that's just not, like you say, you take the most intense man ever was Dorian, and everything happened internally. Like, he said,
like everyone always talks about blood and guts, so it's violent and all this, but he barely makes a noise. It's all Leroy.
He's quiet, yeah.
There's nothing. You just get the occasional scream on your last 2 reps. Everything's internal, and it's kept in until it's necessary to come out for that final rep. It's not fucking screaming at yourself, trying to hype yourself up for one set. It's all internal, and when it's necessary, it'll bring it out. And it's nice to be surrounded by someone whose energy you can bounce off of, but it's not entirely necessary to just be violent and brutal for 45 to 90 minutes of the session.
I totally agree, and I think people are just so out of because it's cool to do it.
Yeah.
Like, people need to scream and psych themselves up and get going. It's like, it doesn't matter, just do the fucking set.
Yeah.
Because that set's shouldn't be any more important than the one before it. If you're building up everything to that one set, well, you've just fucking wasted a training session. You could have been doing a lot more stuff, surely. Yeah. Well, no, I'm only going to do 1 rep. Like, I mean, I've seen it. I've seen people doing like, or next week, if I do 2 less warm-ups, I'm going to get that. Or so you're going to do less work to do more work. What the fuck do you mean? Like,
yeah.
But I think like a really weird way that I try and summarize, like, there's obviously, it doesn't happen, but it's just like a weird analogy. That if your muscles had like a power bar or something, and to hit muscle growth, you had to deplete that power bar.
Yeah.
Which is technically, that's what you do. You have to you have to fuck a muscle up. You have to stress it so much that it causes an adaptation. There's no science, and this is a simplification, that every preceding step to a final failure set is chipping away at that power bar.
Yeah.
Why try and keep it as full as possible just to have to deplete at the top with a weight that you don't really have any business
lifting
using? Whereas it's the same as when people go, right, I need 12 reps on this to break my PB. Well, you can't take a 30-second fucking pause halfway through the set, mate.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I see all the time. They'll do 4 good reps, and in my head, I'm watching like, you've probably got 2 left.
So they stop for 5 seconds, then take a single, and then stop for 5 seconds and take a single, then stop for 10 seconds and take a single. And they widowmaker their way to 12 reps and go, call PB. Like, not one. Just do continuous reps and see what happens. Yeah. Because you probably would have got 5. Which says me, to get 12 reps, you could take a plate of side off or 2 plates of side off and actually work the muscle. Create the exact same stimulus for muscle growth.
Yeah.
But have less load going through your joints. Like bodybuilding training, the sole goal should be build muscle.
Yeah.
And that doesn't need more weight on the bar or PB. It's the same as, like I say, when people mistake fatigue for weakness. Like I'll have it with clients. I'll give them a training plan and they'll say, and I ask them about their strength. Oh, I was so weak because I didn't get my normal number. And this is like when they've been working with me for a week, and I'm like, you don't know any numbers yet because you've never done this training session before.
Yeah.
If you can squat 200 kilos for 10 reps at the start of a session, you're not squatting 200 kilos for 10 reps at the end of a session.
Yeah.
But it don't mean you're any weaker. Like on that given day, your strength is the same as a human being. Like you haven't gone from some crazy dip in strength.
Yeah.
You're just tired and fatigued. But that's so are we saying that every single lift after the first lift is technically useless? Because, oh, well, if I did it at the start, I lifted more. And that seems to be the way that training is going at the moment.
Yeah.
Like people think that, oh, well, like every when people talk about their PBs, they are all like, depending on the circumstance. It depends on that session. Like I say, like squatting at the beginning to squatting at the end, it would be 2 different stories. The same way as if you took 30 seconds rest or 45 seconds rest or a minute's rest, you're going to get a little bit back. That power bar or whatever is just going to come back up. You're going to have a bit more. Like, it's why, like with Jay Cutler, he'll take 60 seconds rest. You show me anyone that can go do 12 reps, 3 plates aside of the bench press, then take 60 seconds rest and do it again. And then take 60 seconds rest and do it again.
Yeah.
Like, that to me is more impressive than someone benching 5 plates.
And doing it once over the course of an, hour.
Yeah. It took him 30 minutes to build up to it, doing his singles and his triples, and he banged out 6 to 8 reps at 5 plates.
Yeah.
Where in the space of 3.5 minutes, someone's just done 140 kilos 30 times. Like, I mean, obviously with James Hollingshead at the minute working with Patrick Chur, there's a bit of chat about his style of training. He keeps mentioning that training density, which is one of, I think, again, trying to cram as many effective reps into a session as possible. When he increases his volume, he doesn't say, right, I'm adding 10 sets in, so your training is going to take longer. It's like, your training is still the same. You're going to get those extra reps in. Yeah. And I think that's the way he's built that session, about getting as many effective muscle building reps into a condensed period of time. Whereas people now take 3 hours to train and they don't really do a lot.
So
I just think it's not.
One thing that I'm wondering, because I had sort of a similar sort of issue at the start of this year where I was in a position where my recovery was way down, and I could tell that I was, over the course of weeks, building up a lot of fatigue, more than I was before Christmas, to the point where I was starting to get back little niggles and pains from like old injuries that I've had. They've all been minor injuries, but the pain was coming back, particularly in like, I think I had like a ping in my rotator cuff, like like maybe 2 years ago, but I noticed it coming back. And in for a period of time, I was playing around with my actual training frequency over the course of a week or 2 weeks, adding in an extra rest day, whatever. And then what I sort of figured out for myself was that the amount of cumulative volume that was picking up from doing like an insane amount of warm-up sets, at the end of the day, that was actually having a work, like the opposite effect as what I wanted. I was getting warm, but the amount of cumulative volume was actually having a negative impact on my working sets, as we like to call them. What are your thoughts there?
What do you mean by negative impact?
So negative impact in terms of the massive build-up of fatigue I was getting over the course of weeks, to the point where I was actually putting myself in a compromising position where I was getting more pains and aches and stuff like that were not muscle pain, but actual joint, ligament, etc. What are your thoughts on managing recovery around that?
Well, that's why I just asked that. Obviously, you were saying that it was affecting your work sets. Like doing work beforehand was affecting them. But I mean, in terms of what, you couldn't use as much weight, or
it wasn't a case of me dropping off load, having to drop off load or anything. It was literally the case of I was getting to a point where I was risking injury, I guess. So I was putting myself in a position more at risk.
I remember when this was happening, because you were fucked after, even if it was just a push or a chest session or something, you were completely fucked after like 2-3 exercises.
Yeah.
It might have been
just getting pain in the joint.
Yeah, it might have been as well. It could have been just complete physical fatigue because you've just gone through a big long prep.
Yeah.
You're only 12 to 16 weeks post prep.
Yeah.
Just rebounded as well. Your fitness had pretty much decreased because your body weight had gone up, especially as quick as it did.
Yeah.
Obviously, your strength did go up with that. But obviously, I think physical fatigue is, even going back to what you said, Matt, about fatigue is weakness and etc. and vice versa.
I'm talking about fatigue in a session.
Physical fatigue.
Muscular fatigue within a session. Not being tight. Like, I think that in terms of when you normally train with a higher volume, obviously you're doing more, like the way I train, I actually recover better because obviously I'm handling less load. Yeah. So my central nervous system itself, I think the guys that psych themselves up to do a balls out thing, have to sniff smelling salts, and they're doing 5-6 rep maxes week, or 3s or 2s or whatever, things like that. They're the people that get fucked because it's your central nervous. Like, there's a difference between tired and like overtraining comes from a central nervous system being absolutely bollocks. And that's when you're having to obviously send signals. People that train on adrenaline, these are the type of people I'm talking about. Like, you shouldn't train on adrenaline. You shouldn't be getting yourself psyched. It should just be another set. Like, adrenaline is, if you need adrenaline to lift a weight, we know what adrenaline does to the body. It fucks you up. Yeah. It makes you tired. It will kill your central nervous system. Like, and yes, you will lift a lot, but there's also women. Yeah. There's also women that
are dangerous going into that fight or flight mode, especially fucking 20 minutes after you've just been there, and then you're back there again for this set, and then you're back there again for this next exercise, and then you're back there again. Then you go and drop, and then you fucking recovering at home, and then the next session it's legs, and then you got to go there again, and again, and it becomes negative feedback from the behaviour as well.
If you're just dumping adrenaline all the time when you're training, like I just said there, women have leg pressed cars off of babies. Yeah. That's not how strong they are. So if guys on a daily basis are relying on that hormonal or that chemical to lift a little bit heavier, that's not how strong they are. They're lifting without their means. They're basing on something else. Just get in and do the set. Your muscle can only do what your muscle can do. So just take your 60 seconds or your 2 minutes, just get under the bar. Don't treat it like it's an event. And just train the muscle. You need to be quiet. All bodybuilders, like, unless you're obviously going like powerlifters, slap themselves in the face, and that all the smelling salts, because they want their central nervous system elevated. They care about that one lift that's right in front of them. Like when Eddie Hall did his 500 kilos, whatever, he couldn't move for a week.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was just like that crazy central nervous system. I mean, the fact 500 kilos is pulling everything off your body, but just that crazy central nervous system stimulation. I just don't think it's good. This is why you see people now, they're having to deload every like 6 weeks because everything is more than just the muscles working. You don't need to be going to the, like, when I do a set, it's just a focus, an internal focus, and a crack on. But I see like stories like, I mean, that kid who was crying doing a hack squat, like, where are you going mentally to bring something like that up?
Yeah.
Like, what? That's not bodybuilding training in my, like, getting slapped in the face and people around you yelling just to try and, like I say, dump adrenaline.
Yeah.
But I think if, like the question you asked about the fatigue and things like that, obviously if you're coming off the back of a prep, you might just have been fucked. But when people sometimes try and increase their volume, you have to accept, and you've got to start from scratch. Like I said, you didn't drop the load, but you're doing a lot more work up into it. So in my question to you, are you, rather than resetting everything and just training purely, start at set one and see what happens as you go?
Yeah.
Or are you, this is my work set, these are my feeders. No matter what happens, you were going to get to it. So say if you were going to something that you normally, like an RDL, say you do 5 plates a lot, 10 reps or 6 reps normally, have you doubled your volume leading up to it, or still want yourself to lift that same weight? If that's the case, you're not going to be, your muscles are fucked. So you're then going to start putting stress through joints and ligaments because you had no business handling that weight. This is the thing where people do all these low rep feeder sets to handle weight. That's why I just say to start off bodybuilding, even if you've got a plan, it should still be instinctive. You know, every set should just come from the previous set. Like, you should work it out. You can't, if you get to the bar and go, fucking hell, that 100 kilos was heavy, but I want to do 120 today. You say, well, no, that 100 was heavy. I'm going to do 105, or I'm going to do 110. That's instinctive training, this people. But if you still put that 120 on, and then if you keep doing that for 3 or 4 weeks, you start picking up shoulder issues, or like your elbow starts going, because the load is no longer on the muscle, because the muscle can't actually do it. People are trying to lift heavier weights than their actual muscle is capable of doing. But when I put that post on about like hypertrophy or strength should come from hypertrophy, not the other way around. That's what I meant, where people just let the muscle get naturally stronger. It will adapt. If you're taking it to its limits every week, it will adapt. But strength adaptations take a long time. Just let the muscle go through the process of, you might find for like 4 or 5 weeks, not a lot's really going to change.
Yeah.
Like when you see people go, right, cool, do 100, we're going to do 110 next week. It's like, what, you're going to just put 10 kilos on a 10 rep max? Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And if it does happen, something else has happened.
Yeah, there's either going to be a sway in form, or we're going to be dumping more adrenaline again, or
100%.
It's going to deteriorate from another set somewhere else in that session or something like that, especially when it is that style of training where it balls out for 1 set and then you might do a back off. It's going to deteriorate from the rest of the session, isn't it? Because that's not progression, it's still regression on the whole, because you've gone 1 step forward and 5 steps back if you're doing 5 sets across the board. So
that's what I mean. Just because it's in that book, done it, beat it by 10. Like, what did you do to? And people say, oh no, things like that. Milliseconds make a difference. Like in form, it does.
Yeah.
And in your head, like you can never ever replicate a lift perfectly every single time. Like nobody can. And in a set, when you get to rep 6 and you're like, fucking hell, this is getting heavy. It takes a very strong human being. Well, it takes a fucking robot to not just speed up just a little bit. And just that slight change in tempo from week 1 to 2, not a big difference. And then from week 2 to 3 is not a big difference. So you don't notice that you're compromising your form.
And over time, yeah, you get the build up.
1 to week 10,
Yeah.
like all of a sudden that every rep's taking 4 seconds, and now, oh shit. Or even just throughout the set. Like when everyone does this like reset in the logbook, they always have a great session because they get a free. They go and have a session that's free from any manipulation or dictation that's in a book. And they go back and it's like, well, if you were that strong last week, you shouldn't have to reset. You'd just be that strong. Like when everyone resets form, their lifts drop by a massive amount.
Yeah.
And so, well, that muscle's obviously not capable of lifting that weight. Something else is doing it.
Mm.
So, I mean, I see people doing like crazy weights, and I think, and everyone tells them they're so strong. Well, they don't look very strong, and they're a bodybuilder. So, like, I'll see. I don't know. Obviously, there's a lot of freaky strong people out there, but there's also a lot of people doing like on your hammer strength machines and things like that. Say there's guys out there posting videos doing like 5 plates a side on a hammer strength chest press. I've never done 5 plates a side on a hammer strength chest press, so I know that's fucking heavy.
Mm.
I also know that I'm twice the size of them.
Yeah.
And that can be genetic and anything like that. But my point is, if they look like they do now at 5 plates a side, with their logic of training, what do they have to lift?
Yeah.
To look like a bodybuilder?
True.
Like, where are you going? Where are you going to go from that?
That's not your logic. That's based on their logic.
Take us a break in the toilet. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anyway.
That's going to be the end of part 1.
Yeah.
No, I think that's actually all right to leave it there for part 1.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Right.
And,
Thank you for listening to part 1. We'll be back with part 2 when Matt is back from whatever he's doing.
Where he's done. There you go.
Business. Thank you for listening and look forward to part 2. All right, in a bit. Bye.